Hey, welcome to Mel BC and a Cup of Joe. This is Mel, also known as Millie, and I'm bringing you some content. Well, not just me, but my podcast co hosts once they join the live. But today's topic is going to be: does the duration of your singleness affect you? Now, hey, Joe, we have Joe joining us, and B is here. So, Joe, I was just giving the listeners the topic of today, which is: does the duration of your singleness affect you? Welcome to the stage,
Hey,
B. How's
hi.
everybody's weekend going?
Hey, Joe. Hey, Mel. My weekend. How about y'all? Y'all's.
Hey B and hey Mel. My weekend is going even better since now I am off for the next 3 days, so that's definitely what's up. And yeah, that's where I'm at with it. I'm in a happy place.
I hear that. I feel like you always got like a 3 day, 4 day, little mini vacation.
Absolutely, that's just part of my regular work schedule. So that's what makes it so much easier. Like I really hope that the U.S. gets to a point where they just start making 4 day work weeks because people are more productive that way.
I agree.
So, what do you guys think of today's topic? Oh, my weekend is going good, by the way. Yeah, no,
Oh,
right.
it's real. Say what's up.
Really quick. I do see that we have a guest in the audience that would like to join us, but we just started, so we will be adding you shortly. Just hang tight. We haven't accepted the request yet because we're not doing that yet. But we hope you stay in the audience and listen in, and we'll be happy to have you come on stage in a little while. But anyway, back to the topic. What do you guys think about it?
Does the duration of your singleness affect you? I believe it does. Whether it's good or bad, I think we can jump into that a little later. But I feel like being single and being in a relationship, they both affect you in different type of ways. Now we can explore the different ways they affect you, but to answer in short, yes, I believe it does affect you. It affected me.
I definitely am a survivor of this. I have been single for 4.5 years until I got to my current relationship, and then prior to that, I was in a 3 year relationship, and there was two different extremes for me, and one was the one extreme was getting out of that 3 year relationship. I found it way harder for me to talk to other women. Like I just was like didn't know what to say anymore because I was so used to one person after a while. Didn't know what was corny and what was not corny. Didn't know how to talk to them. I was just like, man, I gotta get out of it. Then I was almost getting to a point where I was even like feeling guilty with having them come to my place. It was just wild.
So I definitely feel like you know, any type of most situations that we go through in life affects us in some type of way, whether it's a positive effect or a negative effect. Well, that's what life is about, having different experiences, blah, blah, blah. Um, I will say that personally, just a way that I feel like being single has affected me is just decreasing my desire to kind of disrupt the peace that I have going on right now. Like, meeting a new person and trying to get into a relationship or even just trying to get to know a person is can be challenging, you know. And when you're used to being single and only having to worry about yourself and um, not really having to think about another person. It's new territory, and it can be frustrating. It can be um, a little scary if you have like anxiety stuff going on. But um, I think sometimes people just get comfortable in being single, and that's what makes it a challenge when you try to get back out there in the dating world.
Yeah. So, and of course, I just told you that one side of where where I was in the relationship. Now, when I was single, man, I ain't gonna even lie. Like to have the ability to not care about anybody else or not give a fuck about what anybody else is thinking, and just really just doing me and having variety and just being like, okay, cool, I could just date this person, and I'm always gonna let them know up front, like I'm not looking for a relationship. And just as long as I put that up front, and some people, of course, ever always gonna be somebody that's gonna try, and but I just steadfast, like my mind is not there, my energy's not there. I was just like, yo, like I'm just chilling right now. And yeah, it's definitely a degree of selfishness because I just really just was really just doing me. Like I just, like I said, didn't have to be, hey, calling around like, hey, you need something from the store unless I wanted to, or hey, you wanted to go do this. It was just pretty much up to me and when I wanted to do things and how I wanted to do things. So that transition and transitioning going back into a relationship, that was also difficult as well because I had to relearn how to not just thinking about myself and relearning how to um, being considerate of another person's feelings and their concerns and being mindful of things are that probably not big to me would be big to her and vice versa. So it's just been a lot going back and forth with that in that situation, but it's a great learning game. But I always gave my girlfriend a disclaimer like, hey, I've been out of the game for like a long time. So if you see me doing things that you're not happy with, or you think I think I should know since we're in a relationship, just let me know because I've been out. I was single for 4.5 years. So it's a lot of getting back into considering somebody else all over again.
Yeah, I think that there's a certain level of selfishness that comes into play when when you've been single for so long. Like Joe mentioned, you didn't have to worry about other people's feelings or their plans or even including anyone in your life as far as like their feelings or whatever. Um, but I also feel like, you know, the biggest part of being in a relationship with someone else, not just yourself, but being in a relationship with someone should help you grow, right? And during that time where you're growing, it's not always pretty. So there's going to be certain parts of the interactions and the experiences that you have with another person that's going to expose who you are. Your insecurities are going to be exposed, even if the other person doesn't see it right away. You might feel, certain things that are uncomfortable. And a lot of people don't, most people, most humans, don't like feeling uncomfortable. And when you're single, you only have to worry about, yourself. And we usually don't put ourselves in situations that make us feel bad. So I think that's one of the ways that, being single too long affects you is that you get used to not um, having that accountability or acknowledging your own toxic traits.
I agree. I feel like during your singleness is a time of growth, and it's a time to realize what you do and don't accept in relationships moving forward. So it's definitely a time to reflect. The growth in relationships, I feel like can be tricky, especially if you haven't mastered being alone. So for me, my experience being single for the last 5 years, I learned a lot about myself. I've dated several people, different personality, different, what I'm not used to. And it took me out of my comfort zone, but it also helped me realize things that I would not um, deal with moving forward um, when looking for, more committed, hopefully marriage type relationship. So I think it has its perks. A lot of people shy away from being single or are embarrassed to say that they're single, but I'm happy and I'm single. I'm single and happy. So, you know, like Joe was saying, and Mel, like getting into a relationship, now you have to think about that other person. You have to decide whether or not you're ready to share your world, your space, your food, your bed, all of that. So, it has its perks, but it also takes you, it doesn't allow you to be 100% free, so to speak. You know, I like being free. I really do. Like, I reflect a lot and I'm like, damn, like the single life is not that bad. It has its lonely nights. Like tonight it's raining, it's thundering. It'll be nice to have my little boo snuggled up with me, but I'm content. So, it is.
But in reality, you can. All you gotta do is call up XYZ.
You medical sorrow.
It's the midnight.
Yeah, but see, that's not even fulfilling. I'd rather be by myself than just like a seat filler. And I guess that's the journey that I'm on being single. Like when you're first fresh out of a relationship, you kind of monkey bar. You might just what's it called when you get into something, a rebound. You end up in a rebound situationship, and those are the ones that kind of, to me, make you how you say it, like you're not so sure of what you want because you're just jumping into something to fill a void. So yeah, you're right, Joe. I could call somebody, but I like being alone with my flowers.
So I got a quick question for y'all. What was what's been the shortest turnaround from relationship to the relationship to relationship that have you gone through? Like pretty much getting out of a relationship and then something happened, whatever the case may be, and then you turn around and got into the next relationship. Like what was the shortest?
I'm gonna say weeks. Like I literally was breaking up with my kid's father, who we were together for 10 plus years, and he was in the process of moving out of the home, and I met somebody in that process, and it was just like immediate like connection, and we from that day we met, we stayed in a situationship, relationship, whatever you want to call it, for more than six years. So I'm gonna say weeks, and that's where I got that whole rebounding, those type of rebound relationships when you're not freshly healed, or I mean when you are freshly out of a relationship and didn't give yourself time to reflect and heal, and you jump into something else, you end up in what I was in, a situationship for 6 years.
Yeah, that's crazy. I can't even really remember if how long like a quick turnaround for me. Um, if it was probably like it definitely was when I was younger. 'Cause usually I just space it all out. As I got older and older, I'm just like, look, I'm spacing it out because I know what kind of guy I am, what I offer, and what I bring into a relationship. So I know it's going to take me a lot of energy to put into it and dedicate myself to it. But yeah, I can't remember. Maybe a month, maybe 2 months of a quick turnaround. And probably because I was, when I was younger, of course, I was probably still talking to somebody else, or it was more likely an ex. Like a lot of my exes usually just come back and be like, "Hey, whatever the case may be, or whatever. Hey, I missed you, whatever the case." Like I said, I was younger, so I was just like, "Hey, like the attention." But yeah, that's crazy. So like, did you
I would
feel?
say I want to answer. I know I couldn't talk a little while ago, but for me, I don't know if it's because I'm a Taurus. You know, Taurists have the stereotype of taking long to start things and, you know, getting kind of stagnant and set in our ways. Um, and I'm definitely guilty of that. So I don't know if it's because of that or just my personality type, but I've always had, uh, I don't know, a tendency, for lack of a better words, to take longer breaks in between relationships. Um, the longest this now has probably been over 6 years since I've been single. I have been date. Shut up, Joe. I
Wow.
have been dating uh, in between, you know. But as far as like being in an actual monogamous relationship, yeah, it's been probably a little longer because when I was in a relationship, kind of one side of monogamy. But yeah. So for me, I don't know what it feels like to rebound. I'm guessing that it would be a little confusing. Even in my younger years, I always took like long breaks. Probably the shortest would have been a year, you know. But I always take like really long breaks because I just get kind of used to life being a certain way, and it takes effort, extra effort. Look, the wine is kicking in, y'all. It takes a little bit more effort to get things started again. So, what were you gonna say, Joe?
Oh, no, I was just gonna ask Brandy. Like, I know when you had that in weeks, a matter of weeks turnaround, did you feel guilty about it? Like how did you end up getting a quick attraction to somebody else to get to that point?
The relationship was honestly dead maybe a year already, and we just was holding on because of the kids, and we had some financial obligations that we had to tie up loose ends. We were together for a long time, so no, I didn't feel guilty. I actually was very happy and I felt free. Um, I was with that person, the first relationship from when I was 15, 16. So as a young adult woman, I realized, this isn't who I am anymore. And I don't consider it cheating, and I don't consider it me, doing him foul or however people would word it. I just felt like it was an opportunity for me to finally leave a very toxic, emotionally confusing, abusive relationship. So, nope, I did not feel bad. I actually am very happy that I, took that, not an opportunity, but I definitely moved on from that situation.
Nice. That's what's up. So, Mel, what could you say has your singleness? What new things has it added to your repertoire as far as you being in making it harder for you to get into a relationship?
I'm gonna treat this as a job interview and state the negative as a positive. So I've gotten used to being able to survive and thrive and exist without the chaos. Like for a while, I was just so used to being in a chaotic situation with constant arguing, constant like feelings of unsureness and just emotional turmoil that when I became single, it was hard for me to understand what it felt like not to have that in my life. And that took some getting used to. So when I got used to it, I'm like, wow, this shit is peaceful. Like, I like this. I like not having to look at my phone to see when was the last thing that I text the person, when did they respond, and, you know, why haven't they called me back? How do they feel about me? Like, all of these, like, constantly questioning uh, the status of the relationship. Are we in a good place? Are we in a bad place? Like, is it going good? Like, all of that stuff I did not, do not have to worry about when I'm single. All I have to do is worry about getting to the gym on time, making sure that my carpet is cleaned, that my room is organized, that I'm staying on top of my self-care routines. Like, that's literally all I have to worry about right now. And in addition to work life and, you know, finances and all of those other things that comes with life. Like, that's enough. But I don't have to worry about another person. And so that's what I feel like. And I believe your original question before my rambling was, how have I benefited from being single or whatever? Um, that's how I've benefited. I've been able to regulate my own emotions and know what it feels like to not be affected by someone else.
And what's some negatives you feel like that you picked up from it? Because when you've been out of the game or been out of a relationship for so long, what do you think that, what are some cons that you probably think you're running into now that you're starting to get back into dating and trying to get serious with people and things of that nature?
The con would definitely be fear, just fear of, am I staying single too long? Like, am I even going to want to be with another person? I think that's the biggest challenge for me, is wondering if I have become too complacent in feeling good. Because I know that when you're in a relationship, like, yes, it's supposed to feel good. It's supposed to be effortless and all of those other things. But it's a little naive to believe that there's not going to be any obstacles. Um, and am I willing to be okay with the obstacles of another person? There's a lot of fear in that, just going into something new, not knowing how it's going to turn out, how it's going to end. um, that's where my mind tends to go, like, because I also feel like, who we welcome into our life can either make or break us, and that's not something that I'm willing to gamble with right now. And it's a little scary because I know eventually I will have to take that gamble, because all's fair in love and war. It's there's no guarantees.
How about you, Brandy? Like, do you feel like in your period of singleness, have you picked up any cons, or do you have any fears or anything like
Well, to kind of piggyback off of what Millie said, yes, I do have fears being used to being alone. I'm getting comfortable being alone. Um, Sharing my space, which is same thing as comfortable being alone. Not opening up. I have a fear of um, the unknown, inviting the unknown into my life, into my children's life, and just the horror stories that I see online and on social media, where people are being cheated on, and just the financial situations, men are not happy. Even just my dating experience, how I'm dating some guys or talking to some of them, and they're freaking married. So I don't want to be that wife, sitting home and my husband's on Hinge in some girl's inbox. So all of that, it definitely is an eye opener. I knew it existed, but when you're on the opposite side and you're the one dating and single, it's like, damn, is there any men out there that's not cheating, that's not playing games? Because I'm running into a lot of these bozos. So it's definitely a con, but I don't, I try not to look at the bad. I try to see the good, and that's something that I eventually want. I want to be married, so I'm not gonna focus so much on that, but it's there. I'm trying to, I'm trying to stay away from that negativity around the whole dating and getting back out there, and just trying to stay positive and focus on the prize. You know, my king.
That's what's up.
So,
Um,
no, I wanted to ask you a question, Joe. How do you feel like it's hard to ask you this question, but I'm trying to word it in a way that is not, But how do you feel being in a relationship now, looking back at your single life? Do you feel like, wow, this was the right time for me? Being single, those amount of years definitely allowed me to be show up, you know, at my best and put my best foot forward.
no question about it. Like I feel like even in the process of me being single, I still learned. Even when I met my girlfriend, and I told her I was like, in this time period, I listened and learned from my situations, other people's situations, being a part of this podcast, and I was like, I said I listen to Melissa and Brandy every time when we talk and do our podcast about relationships, and I learn a lot from them. And you know what I'm saying, and what the things that they look for in guys, and what women are looking for, and those are the things that that help me focus and get my mind right and things of that nature. But it was definitely time because of course I had lonely nights, and for I think it's different for guys. It's just like, hey, I'll just find somebody to temporarily fill the spot and then keep it moving, and then but I mean, I enjoy just being able to do something with someone consistently now. You know what I'm saying? Like I just know, cool, my girlfriend's gonna be down to do this. Then I want to go to the theme park. She's gonna be down to go. I want to go to Vegas. She's gonna be down to go. We gonna make it happen, no matter what. Like that's the dope thing about it. Like I like to she pretty much we down to do things. So she'll ask to do things with me as well. And I'm always down to do it. You know what I'm saying? Like our first date, we went um we went to the muscadine farm and picked muscadines. And I was like, yeah, that was dope. That was different. It was new. I've never
What's a
done that.
muscadine?
Muscadines is what they use to make wine. It
Oh,
looked like big.
okay.
So it was a muscadine farm, surprisingly in the hood. And I was like, wow.
So y'all was making
And we
for a
went over
loco
there. We
disco?
could, but yeah, it was cool. It was like different. You know what I'm saying? And ever since then, she always kept my interest. But I mean, I don't miss all that because I don't miss the single life that much because of the fact that it was a lot of dealing with different personalities, different people, even being on the dating sites. Like everybody's different. Just like when we talked about the discussion, the last couple of discussions we had about long text versus short text in your dating profiles, and you and Millie had different opinions about it. So it was just that much variety and all that stuff that was going on when it came to dating. Because one minute I could be talking to one girl, I think we having a great vibe, and then she'd be like, "Hey," I'll be like, "Hey, let me shoot you my number." Nah, that's too soon. Or another one would be like, I just, try to take it a little longer from based upon the last girl I talked to. She'd be like, man, you ain't asked me for my number yet? You know what I'm saying? So it just is so hard to figure everybody out and what they like and what they don't like, and retelling the story over and over again about the story of my life. So it gets redundant and it gets
Yeah, you
old.
know what gets redundant for me? Like telling someone where I'm from, what's my favorite color, what's my favorite food, what do I like to do for fun. Like, I get tired of answering those same questions over and over. Anytime someone asks me that, I'm just like, hard eye roll. Or even just the hey, beautiful, copy and paste group text, mass text, whatever guys do to let everyone know they're thinking about them first thing in the morning. But yeah, that's
Yeah. And the funny thing about it is it's all necessary because that's the only way a person's really going to get to know you. Unless they ask you so off the wall questions that you're not used to, that kind of leads into those things, but that want you make you want to tell them. But you know, that's pretty much what it comes down to. You just got to go over through it over and over again. So yeah, that's one of the biggest things I don't miss. And then also spend a lot of money going out on dates. So don't miss that at all. Now it's way more controlled, just going out with one girl.
I have to agree. Even though I'm not the one paying for the dates, it has to cost a lot. I mean, seriously, one decent date will run you like 60 to $100 a night. You dating 3, 4 girls, that's a whole car note. So, you fellas need to like get it together. You cry about being broke, but you want to play the field. So either you're gonna get a cheap chick that's okay with a 4 for 4 and some, whatever you're gonna get at the end of the night, or you're really gonna invest your time and money into one decent woman that potentially can either help you multiply that money and multiply your life, and you can grow together. And like Joe said, find someone that has like interests and you find things to do together, and life isn't so boring after a while, especially when you find that person who likes the same things as you. Spending the money doesn't it's not a chore. It's not like I'm broke. It's like I want to do this with this person because you're building memories. So yeah, that's a lot to handle, that whole dating, especially on the men's side. I always look at it like that. Like, damn, if I was a guy, shoot, I don't know if I'm gonna be dating 3 or 4 chicks and taking them out every week. That's like $500 a month.
I think also too, it's like I want to see how creative a guy is because there's a lot of experiences that a man can cultivate without, using his money to try to impress me. Like, unless you're buying me gifts or whatever, um, going out to eat, going to like an expensive restaurant every time that we go out, it gets a little redundant. And there's not really much effort that is required to take someone out to eat. But if you can create an environment where you're actually exposing me to something new, something or even someplace I've never been, um, and I don't know, letting me get a chance to see your personality. Like, for instance, going on a date to the movies is not a good idea. I feel like in the beginning of dating, even though back in the days I feel like everyone did that for a first date, but you're literally just sitting in a dark room, not talking for 2.5 hours, and then you're going out to eat, and now you have to see this person in broad daylight. You're kind of manipulating the experience by including delicious food and alcohol. Of course, the person is going to associate you with good food and good conversation at that point because that's what the experience entails. But if you're taking someone to I don't know, botanical garden with flowers and like a nice little planned picnic, or maybe even an art museum, if you're both into that. That's just an example. Not everyone is into art. um but just creating memories, I think, is the most important thing, because a lot of the times, like, you know just taking someone out to eat is not really a good way for them to get to know you, because you're eating, you're not really I don't know. What do you guys think about, like, because you mentioned, like, as far as like dating getting expensive, does it always have to be expensive, or can it be cheaper options without like making the person feel like you don't value their time and you're not putting.
I think that even the museum, the zoo, that all costs. I mean, even $25 versus $200. I definitely feel what you're saying. I don't think every date has to cost, $200 or $100. There are cheaper options, but when in the beginning, I don't know. I'm not a guy, but most guys want to put their best foot forward, and if they like the finer things in life, like a nice good steak, then they're gonna take themselves out to have a nice good steak and invite you as well as company. So I guess that's where the money situation comes into play. It's like, Why would I cheat myself and go to Applebee's when I don't even eat Applebee's just because I'm taking someone out?
No,
So,
I don't mean like the first date. I'm talking about like when you're dating. Like, of course, the first date, most of the time people pick a nice place to kind of like um, exude whatever impression they want the woman to have of them. But if you're choosing to go on further dates after that, it doesn't always have to be an expensive restaurant. That's all
oh
I'm saying.
no, definitely, I agree. No, it doesn't. I feel like the date should get more crafty, more original, like you said. Even a walk in the park, just sitting outside and having ice cream on a bench to me is a date. Spending time, taking a nice drive, scenic views, a hike. All of that stuff is free 99 or very inexpensive. It's definitely not about money. But multiple dating, like I said in the beginning, those first dates are usually going to run you something. So even if you're if you're dating three women, those first three dates just say run you $100. That's $300 right there. So at some point they got to come out their pocket. And like I said, I'm easygoing and I like new creative ideas. So we could sit in the park and write poems together, write songs together, or whatever the case may be. As long as the vibe is right and I'm feeling you, then I think that sets the tone and just makes for a great memory, like you mentioned earlier. So,
I and with me being a guy and
really? Are
having
you
been
really a guy? No, I mean, gosh, thanks. No.
I've experienced like when trying to being creative because like I said after a while you don't want to be spending money on every single date and I think it I think the biggest problem or the biggest thing I've seen and not to say that I go for trashy women or anything like that because I like smart women and sometimes I think when you try to do something creative I don't think a lot of the women now are all that creative in thinking. They're just used to the norm of going out to eat or going to a movie or going to stuff like that. So if you come up with like, hey, let's go to the museum, usually they'd be like, nah, I'm good on that. They'll think it's corny or they ain't with it and they don't have no culture and they just used to the same old, same old. You know what I'm saying? So I think that was another big challenge with trying to be creative and finding the right person. Even if you vibe with them and you felt like they could do it, it was just a hard sell. You know what I'm saying? And I guess some of them felt like it was more of an intimate thing to ask of them, something maybe down the road or something like that. Because I always try to do stuff at that time. I was trying to do stuff out of the box and not just be the typical, hey, yeah, let's go out to eat. Oh, let's go to the movies. Hey, let's try to find something new. You know what I'm saying? I think one time one girl I was talking to, we met at we just did it like I had my kids, she had her kids. We just did like a little kid date meetup. Like it was kind of it was most people be weird, but I guess since we was both in the same situation and both predicament, it just made it evened it out. You know what I'm saying?
So, what are your responses like? In the past when you would say, "Hey, let's go to a museum," opposed to "Let's go out to eat." Do you feel like the responses were the same with women, depending on the type of date, like the type of date you plan?
Yeah, there was, like I said, a lot of them wasn't really interested in doing stuff like that. And it just, like I said, I think it's just not so much that they probably didn't have it in them. I think they're just used to the norm of how a first date goes in their mind based upon their own experiences. Like, I think they look at stuff like museums and walks in the park and picnics as being something more intimate for down the road in when you're in a relationship versus just having a regular date. You know what I'm saying? So that was pretty much mostly the norm. I rarely had a woman that was just like, cool, let's do something different. Here and there I did. It probably be, if it was a percentage, I would say it was like 80 20% being the lowest percentage, the lower end of how many women was really just thinking of that and thinking that was a good idea. And so yeah, it was rough for a pimp out there.
I will say too that back to the topic of how the duration of your singleness affects you or does it. I feel like social media plays a big role in influencing us and our beliefs, not necessarily us per se on this podcast, but just the masses in general. And there all are always situations where things go viral, commentary becomes, a constant rhetoric. For example, it's literally frowned upon in certain circles of women to accept a coffee date, as a first date. But there's also, I think we talked about on one of our previous podcasts, the whole like pre dating option where men were using less expensive first encounters to kind of gauge whether or not they wanted to spend money on a woman. And just that information alone can be a little, triggering for some people because you might really like a guy from a woman's perspective. You might like a guy and he offers a suggestion of where he wants to take you. And if you have that mindset of already being offended by this coffee date and he expresses that, you're already out of the game and don't even know it. Meanwhile, you're looking at it like, hey, I'm talking to 5 different women online. If I take them all to coffee and I stagger the times, like 2 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock, you know, um, I'm only spending like maybe $20 today, and I'm I'm
And
maybe
remember
at
that fourth coffee is free, especially at Starbucks. So if somebody got a
yeah. So it's like you it's hard out there for men, but it's also hard for women too because the other side of the coin is, we're constantly being fed these ideas of how a man, presents things to you or how he chooses to interact with you is a direct reflection of how he sees you and how he views you. And no one wants to be viewed as basic or um, unimportant. And so that's the only thing, or one of the things I will say that can be a little challenging with staying single too long, is that those experiences, those conversations that you choose to be a part of or consume, whether it's with your girlfriends or online or with family members, that information collects in your brain, and your brain is constantly collecting data, and over time it will affect how you interact with someone, which makes it hard. It makes it hard to trust. It makes it hard to even want to put yourself out there because you don't want to go through that inner turmoil that may occur.
So I got a quick question for y'all. Um, so you're not the only ones aware of your singleness. I know your children are as well. Have you ever had them approach you about, so hey, mom, when you gonna get a boyfriend or when you gonna get a husband, and that whole process? Because I know my daughters have like, dad, when you gonna get a girlfriend?
yes, they do. Especially my daughter. Um, like if I say I'm going out on a date or something, and she will like hint, is this the one? Maybe you should take this one serious. So my daughter does. My son, he doesn't at all. He might mention past relationships because he's only seen me in two, his father and my ex. So he will say stuff like, um, pretty much like, I hope you learned your lesson from the last time and don't make another mistake. Kind of, yeah, that's the type of advice, fatherly advice I get from my son. Whereas my daughter is like, when are you going to get a man? Like, you need to, like, hurry up and get this show on the road. You're not getting any younger. She gives me that type.
For me, So my kids, my daughter is like a little over 6 years old, so she's never seen me with another man. My son has only observed me be with his father, but I have dated, when he was younger. And because me and his father had like an on and off kind of situation going. But I've always been very particular and I want to say protective over how my children view me. And so I wouldn't like necessarily introduce them to people that I'm dating. But I have been vocal in the past couple of years with my son as far as like, oh, I'll be back, I'm going out on a date, X, Y, and Z. And I'm not sure what sparked the conversation recently. Like, he just turned 18. But I literally found myself explaining the fact that just because you're dating someone doesn't mean that you're having sex with them. And he didn't know that. And I found it really strange because I'm like, oh my gosh, like all this time, he was thinking I was going out and having sex. And it was just like so funny. Like, but I felt like the conversation was necessary, because he was able to make that distinction between, being in a relationship, having friends with benefits and just casually dating. And dating doesn't necessarily equivalent to sexual encounters. He's never really questioned when I was going to get in a relationship, but I did ask him, how would he feel about me getting married and him having a stepfather? And he told me that, I feel like I'm a little too old for that, which could be true. But I do feel like, whoever I do decide to marry and, involve in my life will have to have a healthy relationship with my children, regardless of how old they are. I would love for everyone to get along just so that it doesn't make situations tense in the home or even when they're just visiting.
Nice. Um, yeah, my daughters are always. I think for them, because they did get to meet a few people that I was like, I would say more situationship than relationship, and that was just due to circumstances, out of my control. Because my kids live with me, so sometimes a woman might be like, "Oh, sit at the house and watch a movie." And I'm like, "Okay," and then my daughters will be just so hyped to meet them. I think it was because more of the fact that they was looking for another woman, like besides their mom, that they could do girl stuff with because I'm dad and I'm not gonna get my nails done. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not gonna happen. And I'm dad, so I'm not doing their hair, the girly stuff. So they kind of wanted that or was expecting that out of me, somebody that I was dating, that they would be receptive, that they would give them that situation they can have fun with. Especially my oldest daughter, she's just a trip. Like she just loves. Dad, when I'm gonna meet all your friends, like you're not gonna meet all my friends at all. You know what I'm saying? So, and she was just like, yeah, I just want somebody so I could just do nails with, and we could just go do stuff. And I was like, you could do that with your mom. You know what I'm saying? But she wants somebody different, and she just felt like she wanted to be a part of all of that. I'm like, you're not going to be a part of all of that at all. You might meet somebody here and there that ain't going to be known as my friend, but that's about it.
Also with the girls too, they just want you to be happy. I think girls have that fairy tale in their head from young women too. We have this fairy tale like being married and having the white picket fence and the children and the dog and happily ever after. So that for them probably was like a fantasy moment, like, oh, my dad's gonna have this wife or this girlfriend who's going to be like our stepmom, like you said, Joe. We could do girly things with, so I'll have two moms, two birthdays, two Christmases. I think girls think about it more Whereas guys, boys, sons, they're like, you know, man, if this woman or this man comes in, this step parent, you know, how is she going to treat us, and how am I going to protect my mom, or how's my dad going to deal with, you know, whatever male issues you guys deal with behind closed doors. So it's a very different dynamic, and it's very interesting to see how both of them view relationships. It's funny you mentioned that, because my son texted me something yesterday about my past relationships and some of the insecurities he has because of them. So I was shocked, because I never knew that that would affect him. You know, men don't normally open up, and when they do, it's really shocking, and it's interesting to see how my personal life, which I know that my personal life definitely will affect my children, but I didn't know it would cause an insecurity in my son, from based off the relationship decisions I've made. And it goes back to the topic: how does the duration of your singleness affect you? Not only does it affect you, it affects your family and your loved ones as well, because they have time to watch you heal, watch you grow, watch you blossom into something. And when you're in a relationship, you're blind. You don't even know sometimes what you're going through or what you're dealing with, and other people around you can see it. So it affects both sides. It affects you as well as your family. So it's really important to take a break, I believe, after a long-term relationship, and get to know yourself and allow yourself to heal, as well as the people involved in the relationship.
I will say too that being single can affect your children, because they may not be able to experience through your example, what a healthy relationship looks like. And I feel like in the Black community especially, we struggle in these areas of just creating that healthy dynamic for our children, for our children's children. And it leads to a lot of us just being lost out here and wondering, what is the standard? What is the blueprint? And so it leads a lot of people to make, unwise decisions when it comes to picking a partner, even vetting a partner, or even knowing what vetting and courting is. Like, a lot of this terminology is nuance, and it's only being revealed through social media, through having, these conversations and being a part of podcasts and having different ideas bouncing off of each other, because a lot of the times it's been, in history, in the Black community, we don't really talk about our issues. We don't talk about our challenges, and we don't talk about how experiences that we've, been a part of or observed throughout our adolescent life and adult life affects our decisions, affects our ideologies of how a relationship is supposed to be. And um, children should always, be able to have some type of blueprint or standard of what their parents went through, of what a relationship looks like. And if they don't have that, then they're left to their own devices. And the frontal lobe doesn't mature until you're 25. But a lot of people, especially in the Black community, are getting pregnant or having children before the age of 25, before they even have the opportunity to be able to make wise decisions on their own. So the longer you stay single, the longer you're exposed to those unhealthy ideals. And it can affect not just you, but your children's relationships, future relationships, and how, what decisions they make for their life. Um, and it would be ideal, of course, especially for boys, to see men loving their mothers in a healthy manner. For little girls to see men loving their mothers, or what it looks like to be a wife, to be submissive, to to be able to compromise. A lot of times girls don't, as girls, women, we don't have that image to pull from. And so you have women entering relationships, trying to control the man, not even understanding how he thinks because they didn't have a father in their life to actually display what it looks like for a leader to uh, take control of the household in a healthy way. So I think that's one of the challenges of being single too long, or how it affects you. It affects your children and how they will live their lives eventually.
Definitely total agreement.
No, I was gonna say I agree. The children play a major part in this singleness, um, this marathon, this marathon of being single. Yeah, they definitely play a
The
part.
single marathon.
Yes, exactly. The single marathon. Yes, I definitely agree. And it's like we always say, like I always say, I get asked over and over again, "Are you still single? You're not sad, you're single?" And it definitely comes from people in relationships who haven't been single for more than a year, that don't know the joy of being single. They haven't learned who they are. And I'm learning so much about myself, and I never want to go into another relationship with so much unhealthy baggage. And in order to let that baggage go, you have to be single. You have to do some soul searching. You have to understand why that baggage is there in the first place. And in order to do that, I feel like singleness is the best way to figure out how to tackle those issues.
Yeah, and it's important to be intentional when you're single. Like, going to therapy, doing that shadow work, doing the healing, the self care, all of those things. Because a lot of the times we don't really know what we're doing or how we're viewing things can be detrimental to us. And if we don't heal that trauma, we're going to bring that into the relationship and then view the other person as being toxic when it's really us.
Agree. I honestly had to do some reflection. I pointed a lot of fingers in my past relationships, like, oh, he wasn't this, he wasn't this. And I said, damn, Brandy, maybe it's you. And I had to really write down a bunch of things about myself that are not desirable. And I'm not talking about physically, just how I thought things should be and how I wasn't cooperating, how I wasn't seeing things from another person's viewpoint. I was very selfish in some of my decision making in my past relationships. So it took a lot of growth, and it took a lot of what's it called? What's the word when you um realize whatever. It took a lot of me being single to realize that it's two sides and it's two people in a relationship, and it's not always about me, and I am not innocent in a lot of the wrongdoings in my relationships, my past relationships. So I learned a lot, and I'm happy.
Yeah, I think the word you were looking for was like called self actualization
Oh,
and
okay. Oh, like
introspection.
self reflection. Yes.
Yeah, introspection is definitely important when it comes to figuring out how you view things and how what we're projecting onto other people. A lot of the times we have insecurities, and when we're exposed to certain situations, we're triggered. And if we're not doing that introspection, we'll always look at the other person as being the villain or responsible for making us feel a certain type of way. When in all actuality, it's our own trauma that's, you know, kind of misleading us.
Yeah, definitely, man. It's a lot to learn, a lot to new experiences to come. Um, you know what I'm saying? I definitely enjoyed talking about this topic because it helped me revisit some things because I'm in a different space than you two are. Not to say that in a bad way, because like I said, y'all happy.
The shade.
I felt
But yeah, man, it was definitely dope. Great information out there, especially involving the kids, because a lot of times when we're going through the dating situation, we tend to only think of the part of the selfishness is not thinking about the children at all. We just thinking about ourselves at that time and what we can get and what kind of happiness we can achieve, and the kids sometimes becoming secondary to that. You know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, man, I had a great discussion with y'all.
And I will say too, I know Joe, he be ready to go, but like I think it's important to surround yourself with people that are actually, where you would like to be in life, not just, financially, but spiritually and emotionally, especially in terms of relationships, like surrounding yourself with married couples or people that have been in long-term relationships that seem to be healthy, seem to be successful, because you can pull information from them. And I really believe that we should start normalizing those healthy relationships with people that are having these successful relationships, because it'll help remove the fantasy that revolves around being in a relationship. Social media has ruined how we view life and view the world. Like everyone is living their best life. Everyone is accomplishing the most. Everyone is in love on social media, but nobody talks about the hard times where you're not necessarily going to like the person that you or love. Not even just like the person. You're not going to necessarily be in love throughout the entire duration of the relationship. um, there's going to be ebbs and flows. There's going to be times where you might not really be fully in love with the person, but you have to always, the only thing that has to stay constant is the fact that you like them. And if you can't like a person, and you're not going to, eventually you're not going to love them all the time. And I don't know, because I've never been married. It is a goal. But more importantly than just being married, I want to be able to have uh, a healthy relationship with my partner where I'm looking at him as a best friend. I'm looking at him as someone that I can confide in and trust. And throughout that, I would hope that he's looking for the same thing from me. And we just continue on this journey throughout life. Um, but I also want to surround myself with people that can give me ideas and examples through their own, I guess, model and, just how they present themselves, how they live, as a way to make it more realistic to me. And I'm not just looking at the Cosby Show or Love and Hip Hop as a way to figure out what love looks like.
I agree. I agree. It's all about learning, living, and actually doing and going through the motions. But yes, it was a great podcast. I feel like I'm not alone in this marathon, and I have a lot more to learn, and I'm here for the to see how it turns out. Whether I'm gonna be single for the rest of my life, which is perfectly fine with me, or if there's going to be that special someone that's going to continue this journey with me together. So, yeah, so we'll be back again with another podcast. Same location, different time, different day, wherever the wind blows. Mel BC is here, and we will be back with another topic, different energy. So, does anybody else want to say something to let our listeners know where they can find us and how to contact?
Well, I will say that, we're on Green Room right now, which is Joe's favorite platform at the moment. But we're also on YouTube. We're on Podbean. If you search Mel B's Tea and a Cup of Joe on the following platforms, you'll find us. We're on Spotify, YouTube, Apple iTunes, podcast. I'm not sure exactly what you type in. Probably just podcast, the podcast icon on your iPhone. Google Podcasts, Podbean, Facebook. We're hoping to go back to the video portion of our podcast. Right now we're just audio, but we do have some older podcasts because we're on season 5 right now. So we got a lot of content. And you can find us on YouTube if you want to see what we look like. What were you gonna say, Joe?
Oh yeah, definitely. I was gonna try to list as many things as you listed, and I probably would have forgot some, but you got it all on the head. um, yeah, definitely, and especially a lot of content, just like you said. Like we just got so many things, and we like our fans to develop relationships with us and reach out to us, and especially with me, a lot of no, a few people always tend to have advice that they want to receive, and they like to hear it on our podcast and see what the girls think. Sorry, let me rephrase it. The ladies think, and I have no problem doing that. And we love putting it out there. We love giving different perspectives, and it can help people. Sometimes it does, sometimes it won't. But just as long as we putting it out there and we having the discussions, that's all that matters. Having the discussions.
Yes, and it's always fun talking to you guys. It is Saturday night. I know we seem kind of like, but it was like a heavy conversation today. We do have other topics where we're a lot more like funnier. I don't know. I don't really feel like we cracked a lot of jokes today, but it
I'm
was
always
cool.
funny. I don't know about y'all, but let me stop.
It
I be
was
cracking jokes to
cool.
myself.
It was cool. I mean, I feel like there's definitely some people out there that's going to be able to appreciate the information that we shared today and just the back and forth conversation. So, like B said, so you don't feel alone. So we don't feel alone, you know. So definitely stay tuned for more content and more conversation.
Yes, definitely. So we're gonna go ahead and end this podcast, wrap it up, and remember to follow Mel B's Tea and a Cup of Joe on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Green Room, and we are also on Clubhouse. So check us out, follow, like, comment, and share. Give us your opinion. And if you want to be a guest on the show, you can always email melbc@gmail.com and we will get it popping, collaborate something, and have you as a guest.
Also, one more plug. So, B and I are we've been doing a 21-day affirmation challenge on Clubhouse under our club MBJ podcast because we couldn't fit in the whole Mel BC and a Cup of Joe situation. But tomorrow is our last day of the 21-day affirmation challenge. So we're looking to be more creative when it comes to the morning shows because we were up at like 6:30 every day except for Saturday and Sunday. We started at 8, but it has really changed our mood and helped us to silence the negative rhetoric that goes on inside of our heads. So we also want to encourage you to stay tuned because we will have some of those morning shows on our platforms. Until that time, you still can catch us on Clubhouse if you have the app and join us at 6:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Saturday and Sunday to set the mood for your day and set some intentions for positive intentions for what you want to welcome into your life. But thank you again for joining us, and I hope everyone has a great rest of your weekend. We're out.